Hi, if you're only tuning in this video, please do watch the previous videos to understand why I'm wearing the same outfit, but okay, nevertheless. So again, my crazy thoughts and asking ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, this is a very sensitive topic, and but we need to be able to have these conversations anyway. So one way or another, we need to hear the truths about whatever is happening around us. You understand? So I asked ChatGPT, do you think psychologists have any theory about the steady increase of gender-based violence, corruption, and crime as a whole? Why is it when an awareness is made about all these issues, we see a rise in statistics of the very same issues? Do you think criminals are getting ideas from these and act based on previous events that had no consequences? Yeah. So again, this is a really thoughtful question, and yes, psychologists do have several theories that can explain what you're noticing. What's important is that no single theory explains everything. It's a convergence of psychology, sociology, economics, and systems failing at the same time. Let's unpack it clearly. Is violence actually increasing, or are we seeing it more? I'd say one key psychological concept is visibility versus prevalence. When awareness campaigns increase, reporting increases, media coverage increases, survivors feel safer coming forward. Definitions broaden. What accounts as abuse or corruption? So statistics rise even if the actual behavior may have been present all along. This is known as the reporting effect. Meaning I didn't know this. So a classical parallel: when mental health awareness is increased, depression diagnosis rose. Not because people suddenly became depressed, but people finally had language and support to name it. Makes perfect sense. I'd say number 2, social learning theory. Yes, people do learn from examples. I'd say Albert Bandura's social learning theory is very relevant here. People learn behaviors by observing others, seeing what is rewarded or punished, imitating actions that appear successful. So when crimes are publicized, perpetrators face little or no consequences. Corruption becomes normalized at high levels. The brain quietly registers. Not everyone acts on this, but those already inclined toward antisocial behavior may feel validated and emboldened. This is not because awareness causes crime, but because impunity teaches permission. And then moral disengagement, how people justify harm. Bandura also describes moral disengagement, where people psychologically detach from the harm they cause. Common justification include: everyone does it, the system is corrupt anyway, she deserves it, I'm just surviving. When corruption and violence become widespread, people stop seeing them as moral failures and start seeing them as adaptive strategies. This is extremely dangerous because it erodes internal moral brakes. Strength theory: pressure plus inequality is equals to violence risk. Robert Merton's strength theory explains crime as a response to blocked opportunities. When people experience chronic unemployment, poverty, loss of dignity, systemic inequality, hopelessness about the future, and see others succeed through illegal or violent means, crime becomes psychology. This doesn't excuse behavior, but it explains why crime rises in environments of structural failure. Normalization and desensitization. Repeated exposure to violence, news, social media, lived experience, can cause emotional numbing, reduced shock response, lower empathy thresholds. Psychologically, this shifts the baseline of what feels extreme, what once felt unthinkable becomes. This is particularly linked to GBV, where harmful behaviors may be deeply normalized through culture, power imbalances, and silence. And so why awareness sometimes looks like it backfires. Awareness alone does not reduce behavior. Psychology is clear on this. Information does not equal to behavior change. Exposure without accountability can backfire. If awareness campaigns are not paired with swift consequences, visible justice, support systems, rehabilitation programs, then the message received by society becomes mixed. You understand? Then ambiguity is corrosive. That ambiguity is corrosive. And then are criminals getting ideas? Short answer, rarely creating new ideas, but often copying patterns. Most crimes follow existing scripts, are opportunistic, repeat familiar methods. Psychology calls this behavioral scripting. So yes, previous events with no consequences can lower perceived risk, increase imitation, encourage escalation. But awareness itself isn't the cause, impunity is. The deeper issue psychologists point to across theories, there's a shared conclusion. When people stop believing that justice works, authority is legitimate, society is fair, their lives have value, then aggression increases, empathy decreases, short-term survival dominates. And then final thought, I think this matters. Awareness is necessary, but without structural change, consequences, and healing, it exposes the wound without treating it. This is a very, very sensitive topic, and I wanted to understand, when I like it. Why? What is this? Because every time there's there was that purple movement, not so last year around October. When was it? With the but the organization, man, when we were doing a march against gender-based violence, I forgot manje. But I think a day later or an hours later, an incident happened. You understand? Then the next day, then the following day, it just kept happening till today. Today I read another story of a father raping his own child. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you? I'm trying to understand is that are these perpetrators? Did they see the news? Are they aware of the awareness that has been made out there? Okay, they are not, and they are acting based on what was going to happen anyway. They're acting based on, Vele, I was going to do this anyway, whether you are marching or not. Okay, they are inspired by the march. You guys, I don't know. But ChatGPT explained the psychological parts of it, and it does make sense. So I think our government needs to do better when it comes to punishment, guys, honestly, because I don't think this thing will ever end. So much as it is, but it won't end because there are no real consequences. There's no punishment. I haven't seen one. You understand? But thank you so much for watching, and please do come back for more. Bye.